Actually, let's talk about the first half of season 5 of The Walking Dead, which I would consider to be the dark age of The Walking Dead. I would consider the dark age of The Walking Dead to be the second half of season 4 to the first half of season 5. It was just awful television. Awful. Like, I had to sit through hell watching these episodes every week. The second half of season 4 was absolute crap. It ended strongly. The first half of season 4 ended strongly with killing off the governor and having that whole thing going on, and the government arc was finally ended. It was finally concluded. And I had mixed feelings about that because I enjoyed the governor. I know a lot of people didn't, but I personally enjoyed the governor. I thought he was cool. I liked him. I thought what they were doing with him was pretty interesting. How it kind of seemed like he was changing from a villain to a good guy, but it was a ruse. I enjoyed the governor. I enjoyed Governor from the entirety of season 3, which in my opinion is it's my favorite Walking Dead season. I think that's the best season they've done so far. And if I had to pick the worst season, it would probably be. It's tricky because the second half of season 4 sucked, but the first season 4 was good. The first half of season 5 sucked, but the second half of season 5 was actually pretty good when they were settling into Alexandria and whatnot. I guess if I had to pick the worst season, maybe it would be 6, maybe, because the full season had a lot of weak moments. But then again, 7 also wasn't that great either. You had a few moments with Negan, but there were just so many awful filler episodes that were just unwatchable. Like that episode where it was just Rick and Michonne to try to develop them as a couple. And we'll talk about Rick and Michonne later, because I talked about why I think that Rick and Michonne is probably the worst couple in The Walking Dead history. The chemistry is just not there. And oh my god, it's one of the most disliked videos on my Walking Keck channel, on my TV movie review channel. It's the most disliked video ever on that channel. And I plan on addressing that eventually. But for now, let's go back to season 4 and season 5. Just awful time to be a Walking Dead fan. Those were just absolutely brutal when they were going on the road to Terminus and they were separated. But they spent the second half of season 4 building up and building up and building up the whole Terminus thing. And then boom, it just went away. After like the first or second episode, the whole Terminus/Hunters story arc was done like that, which I thought was pretty disappointing. And in its place was the hospital story arc, which I thought was just awful, 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 awful. They had us try to care so much about Beth, only to just kill her off at the end of this mid-season finale of season 5. They just had to kill her off, and I'm just thinking to myself, what a waste of time. You spend an entire season, you have episodes dedicated to just Beth, to just kill her off at the end. What's the payoff for the fans? What is the payoff? There is none. That's the answer to that question. But then the cops taking over the hospital, and Dawn, who was the main antagonist of that story arc, which I just thought it was awful. It was just downright awful, and it was unwatchable at many times. You had Beth, and you had I did like Tyler William James as Noah. Everybody knows him from Everybody Hates Chris, and I used to like that show when I was a kid. So I like Tyler William James, although politically we don't necessarily agree with each other on a lot of things. But as an actor, I like him. I think he's good. So when they killed him off too eventually at the end of later in season 5, and I'm just thinking to myself, you focus so much time on these two characters, on Beth and Noah, to just have them killed off like that at the end. Why bother? Why bother doing that? That's the thing with The Walking Dead. Sometimes they just kill off characters for no good reason. And sometimes when they kill off these characters, it's like an insult to the fans. It really is. It's just a slap to the fucking balls. That's really what it feels like to me, when they just kill off these characters for no good reason. And as far as the first half of season 5 goes, it makes it feel like it was just a waste. It was just a total waste. What was the point of doing all that if you were just going to kill them off pretty soon? Anyway, oh man, it was awful. Absolutely awful. And it's not like Beth's character development was even that good. She was very, very, very annoying at times. So when she got killed off, it's not like I'm like, oh my god, I'm so sad that Beth died. It was more like, what was the point of all of this then? That was really what it was, because there was literally no payoff at the end. Beth was just awful. One of the worst characters in the entire show, in my opinion. And I'm sure a lot of people can agree with me on that. But if I did have to pick like the worst story arcs in the history of the entire Walking Dead, I would have it probably a good solid number 3 or number 2. And maybe we'll address number 1 eventually, but number 2 or number 3 would probably be the Beth and the hospital arc, which was just awful. It was absolutely awful. It was unwatchable. It was just, oh my god, I can't even explain it. Like words can't describe how awful that shit was.